Finally. Finally, we can start. Why entry-level jobs demand years of experience.
According to a study of over 3.8 million jobs on LinkedIn, roughly 38.4% of entry-level jobs required 3 to 5 years of experience, with industries such as manufacturing and software services demanding well over 50%. I want to address the many reasons why the entry-level job is being plagued with unrealistic expectations.
Wow. Yeah, like, why are you calling it an entry-level job then? Because entry-level means you're just entering it. You don't have experience, but yet you're supposed to have 3 to 5 years of experience or more. You're supposed to start gaining job experience when you're a baby. If you're not a baby and doing factory work, you're doing it wrong.
To properly represent the complexities of the entry-level job, a once straightforward role, we'll be using the state-of-the-art Scooby-Doo sandwich.
Ooh.
Beginning with
Scooby-Dooby-Doo, where are you?
everyone needs to start somewhere, just not with us. From the end of World War II and leading up to the 80s, corporations filled roughly 90% of their vacancies through promotions and lateral assignments, causing a substantial emphasis on the entry-level position. The goal was to hire someone with good manners and a determination to work hard, as the company could then provide the potential candidate with a career trajectory, the necessary training to allow that to happen, and a fruitful pension plan as a way of rewarding company loyalty. While this
Yeah, like, they're looking... I always assumed, like, you know, entry level would mean you're someone who doesn't really have any experience, but this company will take you in and train you and stuff, and then you would sort of be more valuable to that company specifically because you will know their specific stuff.
representation of the entry-level job is what most candidates strive to find today. Unfortunately, the events that followed the 70s largely shaped what entry-level means today. The 80s and 90s began a relentless pursuit for efficiency in an attempt to improve the bottom line. Many American jobs were being replaced with the increase in globalization as automation.
Internships are true entry level? Yeah. But then for internships, you need to be in school. I remember the tweet this one guy posted about how a job required, like, let's say 10 years experience in this one program, the very program he himself created like 3 years before then. Hold on. My brain exploded. 20-year-old with 30 years of experience. Yeah. So a guy created a program and then in 3 years... Oh, okay. Guy created a program. 3 years later, he was telling everyone that, oh, this program you need 10 years of experience with, but the program's only 3 years old. I get it. I get it. I'm also putting this a little bit back. Hold on. Okay.
Today. The 80s and 90s began a relentless pursuit for efficiency in an attempt to improve the bottom line. Many American jobs were being replaced with the increase in globalization, as automation and outsourcing were the prioritized method of delegating most roles. Along with this shift, companies found it was more cost-effective to recruit skill sets rather than train them, as only 24% of...
Wait, is that an actual thing? They're on 2 phones at the same time? How? What? How?
current vacancies are now filled with internal candidates, a 66% decrease in just the last 50 years, with only 28% of talent acquisition leaders reporting that internal candidates are an important source to fill vacancies. As companies really began to prioritize recruiting skill sets instead of training skill sets, it brings us to our first issue that candidates as well as employers are facing. You need skills to get a job that'll teach you skills that requires a piece of paper when you should have been getting skills.
What?
How long? You've reached the house of unrecognized talent. Please start after the...
With a shift of planning for attrition rather than training for retention, companies have really begun to paint themselves into a corner, leaving a nation of raw talent feeling confused on the effective steps to be able to jumpstart their career. As companies invest 4 times as much into recruiting as they do training, it discourages the true purpose of the entry-level job entirely, as it is more cost-effective to provide as little training as possible and instead demand the skill set is already provided. However,
Yeah, okay, and then later on they're gonna be like, um, oh my god, we don't have any workers because, yeah, nobody's trained because you didn't want to train them, so now you're not gonna have anyone to work.
the entry-level job is also in demand, as 92% of executives think the American workers aren't as skilled as they need to be.
Yeah, because you're not training them.
With Forbes reporting that 59% of employees have no actual workplace training and are entirely self-taught.
You are now employed by one of the most successful restaurants in Bikini Bottom, but it didn't get that way overnight, because the store closes at 6.
And whether the demand for the college degree is going to increase or decrease, it's impossible to predict. But one thing that we can say for certain is that the college degree no longer guarantees the same career stability as it once did. And if anything, it actually might be doing the opposite. According to a 2023 survey by Intelligent, of 800 US managers, directors, and executives who are involved in the hiring process, when asked if they avoid hiring...
Hold on, wait. What did that say? Graduates are struggling with many aspects of professional life, making them less desirable to hire. Because they just got out of college. What? That makes no sense.
When asked if they avoid hiring recent college graduates for positions they are eligible for in favor of older candidates, 39% of employers said that they do. 60% of employers are willing to implement a variety of different tactics to avoid working with a recent college graduate. 59% offer more benefits and higher salaries to attract older workers. 48% let older employees work remotely or in a hybrid format. And 46% were willing to hire an older employee who is overqualified for the position to avoid working with someone younger. And 58% of the 800 surveyed stated recent college graduates are unprepared for the workforce.
One Krabby Patty for me, and a Pipsqueak Patty for the boy.
Now, wait just a darn minute.
Scott Detman, CEO of Avencia, a US-based career matching service for new graduates, stated, employers are unhappy with the level of talent they are getting in the entry-level space. So instead of trying to take corrective action, they've increased experience requirements. In the last 5 years, we've seen a 20% increase in the number of skills required on job listings. This is where...
What the hell? How do they think people coming out of school are gonna know, are gonna have the professional experience and stuff? No, you have to teach them. You have to teach them. Oh my god.
I believe that we really begin to gain insight on the requirements needed for an entry-level job, as well as the confusion for the push of having a college degree, as well as being reprimanded for having one. Which gets us to the chocolate sauce on the sandwich, being what the f do employers actually want? Throughout much of the post-World War II period, the hiring practices of large corporations have evolved significantly. Traditionally, human resource professionals conducted a thorough job analysis to identify the specific tasks required and the ideal attributes of a candidate. They were aware of the reasonable demands needed from the hiring manager and performed a job evaluation to determine the job's position within the organizational structure and its correspondence pay scale relative to other roles. Job advertisements were widely posted on job boards and in newspapers. Roughly after a week of extensive interviews, reference checks, and skill tests, the candidate was then offered the role. However, according to a 2019 article on the Harvard Business Review, about 40% of US companies, according to research by Korn Ferry, have outsourced much, if not all, of the hiring process to recruitment process outsourcers, which in turn often use subcontractors.
Yeah, the staffing agencies and stuff. Most workplaces want an employee with experience, but how is a young person supposed to get that experience if workplaces won't hire them because they have no experience? Yeah, and then they're surprised that youth unemployment is rising. That's like, you want someone to know how to use your ice cream machine, but you don't want to train them, so then you're wondering, well, where is everyone that's going to operate my ice cream machine then?
And I was slightly suspecting this to be the case. However, I had no idea the magnitude at which this is happening. What is becoming increasingly more popular for the job hiring process is the hiring manager to write down a wish list of qualities and requirements the potential candidate should have. This then would have historically gone to a seasoned recruiter, where they would help gauge the necessary requirements for the role. However, this is largely now just sent to a hiring staff of HR.
Yeah.
Now,
This this is also probably leading to that problem where there's tons of companies that are hiring. Well, all the companies are hiring and they can't find people to hire, but also there's tons of people looking for jobs. This is probably why.
Now, the reality is that in many cases, the hiring staff then outsources this very thing to a third-party recruiting process. And depending on the third-party recruiter, they may then use AI models to sort through the requirements needed to help create the job posting. The candidate that now applies for that very role will first have to pass through an application tracking system, or ATS.
Oh my
Once
God.
they have done so, they will then experience their first round of interviews. However, this is typically also done by a third-party interview network.
I hate job interviews. I'm really, really bad at them because I get so nervous that my brain just shuts off. I hate interviews so much. Please just let me come in for a day and just try me out. just let me come in for a day and show you what I'm capable of. I would much prefer something like that.
Which then is followed by an interview within the HR department, and may then be followed by an actual interview with the hiring manager. And if your feathers are not ruffled enough, only 39% of hiring teams received interview training. And I believe this to be a very large issue with job postings as a whole, but most importantly, the entry-level position.
Have a good night, Cranium.
As I suspect, what we are seeing in the job posting is substantially different from what the hiring manager actually asked for and isn't necessarily relevant to what the actual job is going to entail. To further explore this, I went to ChatGPT and typed in to create an entry-level job for a YouTube company as if you were the hiring manager. And this was the result. First off, this looks extremely similar to most listings on Indeed. And secondly,
Oh my God, this is so true because I've been on Indeed. And this is exactly what I see.
the requirements for the most part do not reflect what I would consider to be entry level and are not what I would deem necessary as someone that creates YouTube videos, having started with no experience.
The Fluffles, I'm not qualified to be running my own YouTube. I don't have a bachelor's degree.
And while I totally understand that ChatGPT pulls from the internet and uses predictive programming to give you the end result, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that recruiters may be using ChatGPT or something of that nature to create the postings that many of us see today.
Oh, of course they are.
And if I didn't actually create YouTube videos, I could have looked at the posting that it created and thought, yeah, that seems fair, because I had no reference point to be able to understand what is actually needed for that job. So imagine what manufacturing, engineering, software postings are going to look like. If you're not actually an expert in that industry, how do you have any idea what is actually needed to qualify for that position? And I think that's where a large portion of this divide is actually coming from. And according to that same article on Harvard Business Review, only about a third of US companies report that they monitor whether their hiring practices lead to good employees.
Wow.
Few of them do so carefully, and only a minority even track cost per hire and time to hire. So it truly could be the Wild West of what is actually taking place in these job listings.
Oh my gosh. In Poland, we have something like an internship, which is subsidized by the labor office to help young people gain experience. But most workplaces don't even want to use it. You have a free employee for free. What else do you want? What the hell are you serious? Wow. Wow. I don't know. I don't know what more you could want. A free employee, holy shit. Experience, they want... I guess even free isn't worth having a less experienced worker, I don't know.
And as my final representation of this process, a man named Sebastian Ramirez spotted a job posting that required 4+ years of Fast API, which is a web framework for building HTTP-based service APIs in Python. What is ironic about this is that Ramirez couldn't even apply for this role because he only had 1.5 years of experience, because he was the actual creator of Fast API.
Isn't this like the thing that Sin just said? You must have 5 years of experience for this program that is only 2 years old. What?
And I personally don't believe that there is any malicious intent in the majority of these postings, except for ghost jobs. I personally believe that the majority of this is just happening with individuals that are inexperienced in these individual sectors and are using tools in an inefficient manner. I personally believe that largely what we are seeing as requirements in these postings are just exaggerated wish lists of a hiring manager. In fact, a 2018 survey found that applicants who could meet at least 50% of a posting's requirements were just as likely to get an interview as applicants who met 90% of a posting's requirements. Except this is met with one frustrating mystery: the application tracking system. A survey done in 2023 stated that 98.8% of Fortune 500 companies use ATS. ATS screen and filter resumes to optimize and discover the best candidates for the available position.
Okay.
And while most listings may be exaggerated wish lists, the ATS system doesn't necessarily know that to be the case. In its pursuit of efficiency and keyword optimization, 75% of applications are never actually seen by humans. HR tech journalist J.R. Jonovan states that 88% of employees believe that ATS actually screen out the quality applications with the applicable skill sets because their applications are not best suited to the ATS software. And
what? Oh my god, that's why you have so many people applying to hundreds of jobs and they don't get a callback. Because their resume doesn't even, basically doesn't even go through. I started with an internship at one place. I've been there for over 10 years. Yeah, like, if a company takes an inexperienced person in, they can literally train that person to be an expert in their company. Like, they're coming in fresh. Where you can literally train them to be an expert of your company specifically and to be valuable.
And in this continuous pursuit of efficiency and increasing the bottom line, we arrive to the bun on top of the sandwich: the outsourcing of domestic jobs. Less than 61% of human resource leaders said that in 2023, they were hiring for entry-level and less specialized positions, down from 79% in 2022, according to a PwC survey. And employers expect 23% of all roles to be disrupted in the next 5 years due to the rate in which technology is developing, according to research of the World Economic Forum. Lastly, according to Forbes, it is estimated that approximately 300,000 US jobs are outsourced every year.
Oh
And
my
largely, these are
gosh.
directly taking what would have typically been entry-level positions. So in reality, even if the application process was perfect, simply just the removal of promoting internal hires and instead hiring from outside companies or just outsourcing it altogether, we can see the entry-level job as a whole is just continuously getting replaced. So then we
Wow.
get the olive on top of this Scooby-Doo sandwich, the real meaning of entry level. Now, for most of us, we have the foolish understanding that entry level means no experience, no training, and is simply a place for us to be able to get our foot in the door and jumpstart our careers.
Those
I mean, yeah, that's what it should be.
words. Is it possible to use them in a sentence together like that?
Unfortunately, in most instances, it appears that entry level means asking for experience at a discounted rate. Entry-level jobs that require 2+ years of experience pay 20% less than other jobs that require 2+ years of experience, which leaves you in a position, if you're wanting to start your career or make a career shift in a way that participates in the societal norm of the labor force, you're largely having to take a massive bite out of this Scooby-Doo sandwich. As we begin to conclude this video, I really just want to preface the fact that I am not saying recruiters, hiring managers, third-party recruiters, HR departments, companies, corporations are bad or are malicious. In some ways, probably some are. I think it's impossible to say that they're all good or to remove some blame. I think mostly what is happening is that there's just a lot of inefficiencies. I believe that there's probably a lot of individuals that are really trying to make this chaotic system work in some sort of way.
Yeah, like if they're just relying on this system to go through the resumes, and there's so many of them that they don't that don't even go through, you're probably missing out on so many good people. We're watching working videos again. Hello, Amy. Welcome. We're watching a video on why entry-level jobs demand years of experience this time. So sort of a working video.
But I think, unfortunately, a lot of these inefficiencies fall on the candidate, fall on the individuals that are wanting to jumpstart their career,
Yeah.
wanting to provide for families, wanting to be able to have a future. And I don't think that that is right. But I think largely a lot of this chaotic mess is not something that we can actively control. I can do my best in sharing this, but this is all in a goal or all in pursuit of hopefully taking some of the pressure or blame off yourself for you not achieving whatever the success is in this chaotic mess. I think it's very hard to be able to process 500 applications and not getting approved.
Yeah, I was just about to say I know what he means, because how do you make an online job posting, and this posting now has like 1,000 resume submissions? How do you go through all 1,000 of them? It would that would almost be a whole job itself to do that. So I can see the problem there, yeah.
What I really am trying to just reiterate is that it's not because of you. It's because of a very inefficient and garbage system.
Yeah.
But with that being said, this is in an attempt to still allow you to control what it is that you can do. And I think that as a whole, we need to do a much better job of doing these certain factors of what was actively looked for throughout the 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. That when we walk, we need to make sure that we have our heads up, that we have some sort of confidence when we walk, that we have attire that makes us look somewhat professional. I believe that opportunities can come at any time. I believe that a firm handshake is important, that looking someone in the eye during a conversation, these are the certain factors that...
Yeah, this is true. I think nowadays it's very important if you have connections, and that's how you can land a job too. You have to have connections and all that stuff if you know people, not just blindly applying online all the time. It's also to do with who you know.
Truly can make a difference. And I understand that it's hard to even get an interview and all of these different aspects. But I believe that if the opportunity does arise, we want to make sure that we're ready for that time. I only got my job when I worked at the bank for 5 years because I went in after high school to get a credit card. And the only reason I got a job offer was just because I was able to hold a conversation with the banker. He thought that I was much older than I was, and that was because of the way that I held myself. When I became an actual banker, I grew out my hair, and I had a picture of myself and my girlfriend when we were still in high school. And so I consistently had older individuals asking me if those were my kids. And the reason was because the way that I presented myself was much older, much responsible, much more confident than what I actually look like. And that doesn't mean that I always feel that way. But I think, again, it's very important to be able to practice some of these practical skill sets. Now, I don't want to take away from the fact that, again, things are very difficult, but I think there's a lot that we can still do, that we can still just try our best on. And please just remember that the responsibility does not lie on you. Just continue to do what it is that you can, and I hope that everything works out for the best. I hope this video was able to provide some value to you. If you are in HR, a recruiter, a hiring manager, and I got something wrong, please share it in the comment section so that we can learn from that. Weirdly, this was one of the hardest topics I've ever had to research. The information is not congruent. It was very difficult to be able to piece to form some of these pieces together. So I would appreciate your input on that as well. As always, thank you all so much for your time. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
But for every good employee, there's one who is not so good. Let's see. Inattentive,
yes.
impatient, a glazed look in the eyes. Look carefully at the "I really wish I weren't here right now" button. There's a name for employees like this.
That's not me.
But we'll call him Squidward.